this time, or if eUnited can manage to shore up some of those macro weaknesses to find themselves a win. Going into picks and bans for the second time, it's Thresh and Talia banned out by eUnited. Team Liquid, of course, the mandatory red side ban of Caitlyn, along with removing Kalista from the pool.
It'll be interesting to see if United is actually going to go for the first pick, Tristana, which was what we saw last game, picked up. We have seen some teams actually really prioritizing J4 as that first pick. Also, Maokai went through the draft completely last time around.
Surprisingly.
Which still I think is just very, very surprising. I just see Maokai as almost a better Gragas, right? As a stronger version of some of these tanks, but teams are prioritizing some of the playmaking that these other champions do have. The explosiveness of the ganks early on from Gragas are certainly stronger, I think, than those of a Maokai.
Zac also banned away by Liquid to go along with that Maokai banned out by eUnited. Let's see what the first pick is. There's a lot of good stuff up there, including that Jarvan, and man, is that popular.
I mean, when you give over the Jarvan, you're basically just going to give Liquid Tristana, very, very likely, which was what their first pick was in the last game anyway. So it doesn't really feel like you've taken that much away from them in these picks, like in this pick and ban. If your first pick is what you got already in the second round and last time, have you really gotten a big advantage from the blue side? To me, that you have to get so much from your first pick for blue side to be better than red side in the draft, because red side counterpicks the first round. They also then get the next two bans. They get the first pick out of the second round and the last counterpick. So these three picks that are coming up next for Team Liquid are such a powerful part of the draft for a red side that when you just get something that wasn't as effective last time, it just doesn't feel like you really got enough out of eUnited's draft.
eUnited trying to repeat what they did in game number 1, looking like 2 out of 2 picks so far, coming up the same. Let's see if they continue doing that. One more left to pick before the second part of the bans come in here. Now remember that Liquid did have a rough time against eUnited early. This composition was working until it lost. That's the problem.
Winning the game up until you lose.
Yep, you're winning until your Nexus explodes, and then everything doesn't work out quite as well as you had planned. But it looks like they are going to go with that same pick here again. Vladimir in the mid lane for GBM.
Yeah, so a little bit of a different ordering. They haven't picked up the Alistar, but it's something that they could look to try to grab in the secondary phase. But it seems like they have a little bit of a one-track mind as far as this composition goes. They feel like, hey, we executed well in the early game. We made some mistakes on the map. We made some mistakes in the team fights. But if we can pull it together, polish it up a little bit, we could have taken game number 1. So they're just going to try to run it back.
Liquid looking like they might change things up a little bit here with Cassiopeia in the mid lane instead of Syndra. Cassio can go toe-to-toe with the best of them. Anybody who gets within her range is in some serious trouble, and Vladimir is one of those champions that does not outrange her.
It certainly is a matchup that I think is more favored toward Cassio, especially in comparison to the Syndra matchup, where generally people feel like it's very hard for Syndra to actually get to a point where she's just bullying out and smashing that Vladimir. Vladimir can kind of withstand the damage that Syndra is putting out and then start to take over to threaten all ins. Cassio, I think it's a very different story. Cassio is such high DPS and really can bully Vladimir and kind of scale equally with Vladimir. So we'll see how GBM is going to be able to handle this matchup.
Gnar banned away first in this second phase of banning. Janna, the response from eUnited. You think we're just going to see the Janna Lulu again?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just trying to run the same composition. It seems like this is their plan. This is what they feel like is their best shot at winning. And to be fair, game number 1 was not a composition problem. Game 1 was an execution problem. So if you feel like, hey, we can actually improve upon that, then run it back, give it one more shot. Then if you're down to 0-2, you probably have to change something up, but I don't really have a problem with them going back to this composition at least one more time.
Cho'Gath banned out by Liquid, Shen banned out by eUnited, so they will ban out what they picked as their own top laner before, but remember that the Galio that was banned away last game by Team Liquid is available. eUnited might be looking for that instead.
Some of the bans do seem a little bit arbitrary as far as Maokai went through the entire first draft. They're now worried about that. Cho'Gath got through the entire first draft. Now they're worried about that. Cho'Gath is not even something that was shown a single time by Licorice in, well, actually it was shown a couple times. Maokai, however, was not played whatsoever. So it'll be interesting to see what support they're actually going to go for, and if they are going to try to keep it as similar as possible. They can still go for the Alistar here if they want to run back that composition. They will have to lock in a different top laner, but we now know that it is Gragas top as well as the Rek'Sai jungle, so that it is a bit of an adaptation here for Dardoch, NTL, and I do feel like Rek'Sai is more of that Dardoch-style champion that you're expecting him to play, because it is very aggressive early on, it's very powerful early on, and it can bully out and take over in the jungle.
eUnited will take Poppy into that top lane Gragas matchup, so they'll be playing the champion that their opponents did last time, as well as grabbing the Braum in the bottom lane. Not nearly as much initiation power as the Alistar.
We could see Lulu here for Team Liquid if they want to go for that, because that wasn't actually banned out this time around, and it probably will be the Lulu.
Yep.
Lulu in combination with the Tristana is ridiculously powerful. Plus, they also have another hyper carry to protect in this Cassio. So I really do like Team Liquid's draft quite a lot. There's so much damage in the Cassio and the Tristana. Yes, it's always going to be important for your Tristana to be doing well, but unlike Syndra, Cassio can actually slaughter tanks also. So they have two people who can really deal with the front line, as well as some pretty strong disengage, some pretty strong peel for TL. So this is a composition where they're just trying to actually disengage the dive and then just kill whatever is in front of them.
Plus, the Lulu is one of those ardent sensor champions. Everybody in recent couple of weeks has suddenly discovered this item is busted. It gives you an extra like 60 or 70% gold efficiency with the passive for every champion you put it on, and it's completely nuts. And having that for a Tristana, whoa.
It's so strong. I really do agree. And one of the problems with eUnited also is in the 2v2, where they struggled last time early on, where they got pushed in, where they got bullied out, they're going to have similar issues. Because very similarly to Alistar, Braum does not have strong trading in lane. You know, when you're up against a ranged support and this Tristana, you're going to get pushed in, you're going to have the turret under fire, and unless Braum wants to try to challenge for an all-in, which is going to be very hard to do as a Braum Sivir lane, you really can't trade back that much. So you're kind of just giving up the bot lane pressure, you're accepting that you're going to be shoved in, you're accepting that your turret is going to be threatened, and you can look for ganks to punish that, but you have Dardoch now on a very, very powerful early jungler who can look to match that or even set up his own plays.
And I want to see what Dardoch can do on this champion. Remember, he's recently come back to Team Liquid. They're playing him now along with Mickey. These two, they see them as the answer to Team Liquid's woes, at least right now. We'll have to see if they can come through, take this to a 2-0, bring us to match point, or if eUnited will be able to fix those problems, like you said, the execution issues in game number 1 that they experienced, that one team fight that you brought up, where they failed to kill the Tristana. It could have been a whole different world if that didn't happen.
Matt's actually face checking though. He's going to get the Braum passive stun.
Really bad news, getting himself taken down to about half, but not enough people there, so just walks away. Not as bad news as I thought it was.
Had Deftly also been there, that probably would have been a summoner, if not a kill. But the fact that Deftly was not there and that Zeyzal does not have Ignite, they didn't want to fully commit to it. You know, with GBM's Ignite, it would be pretty costly. Either way, they do at least stop Vision going down.
Do want to point out that Zeyzal did go for Exhaust over Ignite this game, so they took out some of that kill power for more of that damage reduction, especially up against somebody like you said with the Cassiopeia. You just might need it to keep that front line alive.
Yeah, it's certainly a powerful summoner. One thing you will say is it can be difficult to sometimes get the right exhaust down on these champions if you are having to actually position to try to get in. It's not like there is an assassin who's diving that you really want to exhaust. Unless Dardoch is building very heavily damaged, then he's going to be an easy target they don't have to move forward to get. But if Piglet and Mickey are positioning themselves pretty far back, it could be tough for Zeyzal to actually find that exhaust.
Look at that fan vote. 73% faith in eUnited here in game number 2. Must have been impressed by that early game performance last time around. Remember, eUnited was 5-0 at one point in this game before the first kill went over to Team Liquid, so...
And they are running essentially the same composition.
Yes.
Or very close to it, right? Yes, they have traded out the Shen for the Poppy, but they're running a tank support, a tank top laner. They're running the same kind of 3-man core of Vladimir, Sivir, and this J4. So they are looking to do the same sort of game plan. You try to bully out lanes, you try to hard engage, you try to set up plays. Whereas TL, I think, is probably more comfortable to sit back and farm this out and perhaps play a more measured game.
Mickey, not exactly the bully that Cassiopeia sometimes is in the first couple of levels. Instead, finding himself on the losing end of some of those early trades, and just going to need a little bit of time to regain his composure here in this lane, heal up with those Corrupting Potion stacks that he's already consumed all of, by the way. So with all the Corrupting Potions gone, Mickey's now essentially no items in mid lane. GBM can definitely find an advantage here, considering he's got both potions still.
Yeah, that is pretty surprising to me, and it's often why you see people actually prioritizing champion damage over just the minion push, but he may be trying to set something up as Dardoch's going to be coming in. Good pool, though, from GBM.
Nice reaction to escape the knock-up there from Dardoch, avoid most of that damage.
GBM has actually been sidestepping these Qs very, very well also. If you actually can't land the poison, it's very hard to trade forward as the Cassio, so nice early laning from GBM. We'll see if they can actually get anything from that. For now, Mickey still, despite the fact that he doesn't have any more charges, if he's not actually taking the harassment, if he's not getting pressured out, it won't be a big deal. And Dardoch looking for round 2.
Dardoch and Dandy will find each other, though. Dandy a little bit lower on HP. Yeah, Dandy's only got 70% health versus a full HP Dardoch Rek'Sai. Not really a fight you want to be taking.
Definitely not. And just the fact that in general you would expect, even on even health, you would expect the Rek'Sai to be able to win that fight.
Right. Matt and Piglet pushed up here in the bottom lane. Tristana versus Sivir, same matchup we saw last time. Definitely was putting in a lot of work on the Sivir in game number 1, was sitting on 4-0-1, I think, before the game ended so abruptly, which is a very good sign for eUnited, considering what you said in the game number 1 pick and ban lobby about how he needs to get off the ground, how the Sivir is so important to this composition for the damage. He's so much of a share of actually being able to kill the enemy players. He needs to make sure that he's getting fed, that he's the one who's being given those resources. They did a good job of that last game.
They do have less options to make those plays on bot side. While they can TP Poppy down, the way that they kind of started that snowball earlier was with Stand United, which is a lot easier to set up. Stand United plus the Alistar combo. You can bring Dandy down to look for those sorts of plays. But if this is a lane that you just straight up 2v2 and you're not all-inning, you will passively lose this as United. You're going to get pushed in. You're going to be pressured on the turret. So you have to look to eventually make those aggressive plays. Braum provides great gank assist, but does not provide great passive laning. It's either an all-in or it's nothing.
Dandy walking up and stealing the big chicken away from Dardoch.
He's behind Mickey now, too. Mickey needs to show some respect to this.
Ghost popped, so it's just a free summoner spell. Dandy's like, all right, came in, got that one, getting out.
Yeah, nice little gank there from Dandy. Just simply walks in, puts on that pressure, gets a free summoner, and he's not going to overcommit to that. So little bits of pressure like that are always a good option because it doesn't really cost him anything. And just the fact that Mickey was not playing close enough to the bot side of the map, even though he knew where Dandy was, means he does lose one summoner.
Mickey slithering away here from GBM. Very little mana left on this Cassiopeia, so doesn't want to risk any super big fights, especially that close to GBM's turret. Remember that in the 1v1, GBM with that Ignite will still have an advantage in stopping some of the Cassio healing, getting the extra burst down as well. Ghost is amazing for Cassio to get yourself around and really have the mobility that the champion lacks, but at the same time, doesn't give you that 1v1 power.
Yeah. Unless you really are ahead, and then you can kind of just use it to chase people down and just burn them out in that way. And you know, the 1v1 power from Ghost is much more reliant on being able to dodge things, on being able to position exceptionally well.
Dardoch finding definitely now. These two just constantly trading positions of power in the jungle. One finds the other, then it gets turned around, then it goes back the first way yet again. Dardoch comes in, chicken for chicken, stealing that one away.
Yeah, and he had his smite. Dandy just now getting his smite back, so not really able to fight for that. And Dardoch knows if Dandy actually tries to fight him, he will lose. So as long as his lanes are pushing, he has the ability to do this, and that's something that TL is really trying to focus on. Have Piglet and Matt shove up. That enables Dardoch to invade. That enables him to play more aggressively. And now looking for the all-in is GBM. I don't know if he has enough damage.
GBM with the pull, but now he gets stunned underneath the turret. Mickey! Oh! First blood still goes over to GBM, but it's 1-for-1.
Very close there to going down. GBM just barely able to finish Mickey off. Does get the first blood, so I guess you're going to call worth, especially because the wave was pushing towards him, but Dardoch will shove that in and try to reset it. And GBM, I wasn't sure if he would have enough damage to go for this. He had not even bought, but confident to look for the play here. Not able to actually sidestep or turn around for the Cassio ultimate, though, allows Mickey to trade back the kill. But critically, first blood gold goes to GBM.
So much extra damage from Ignite with Hemoplague was enough to make sure he got the kill anyway. Having the knowledge, knowing that it was going to be that damage, excuse me, words, they're difficult sometimes, but knowing that you're going to have enough damage to get that kill, even without shopping, like you said, that's the biggest part about that to me, is he was like, Cassiopeia is level 6, I'm level 6, I know that I can make this burst happen.
And it gives him a really nice early buy. Anytime you can grab that early Hextech Revolver, he's able to grab a Ruby Crystal on top of that too, so he's very quickly working towards the Proto Belt, and on the Proto Belt completion, you're always going to feel super, super strong. But TL, again, pressuring this turret very heavily as expected. Piglet got the faster buy because he has the push. so it means he's going to be able to get back to lane and be rewarded with some more turret damage.
That being said, both AD carries did get to buy a BF sword, so it's not really a disaster for Deftly. He's going to be behind a little bit. Gets a lot better at Piglet in that trade at the start, though. Piglet, however, can return more auto attacks on the back end of the trade thanks to his range.
And the problem is just, how does eUnited stop this turret from going down? You have to make a play, but Licorice has no TP. He's not able to come down. Dandy could look for a gank, but it is fairly telegraphed, and TL has done a good job getting pretty deep vision in and around the map. So it's one of those things where eUnited knows they're going to lose their turret soon, but they have to react. And how can they actually set this up properly to turn it around? Because the only way they stop their turret from going down first here in the bot lane is by performing an all-in, is by pulling off a play where they can then run up and knock down the turret, or they can get an all-in on the bot side and then get the Infernal, which would be a really big turnaround in the game.
Yeah, that's one thing I was about to point out too. Last game, Drake #1 was Cloud. Not really the highest prioritization. Teams won't risk a lot for it. This game, it's Infernal. That can go a really, really long way. A lot of times you see that heavily prioritized early, and especially if you get that first turret and your opponents haven't, that is just an invitation to walk over there and get that neutral objective.
Exactly. It's so much to be gained from a bot side win because of that Infernal, because of the first turret. There's all these different circumstances that are kind of building up to make this a point of tension. And TL with that pink should be able to easily spot that Dandy is doing the red, so they're going to be able to expect this, and very hard for him to actually pull off this gank.
While Dardoch still crawling around in the enemy jungle, looking to try to contest Dandy here. Sees him, sees a pink ward as well. Matt moves up, Mickey's there too. Dandy knows he doesn't want anything to do with this. Zazel doesn't find the Winter's Bite onto Piglet. He also has no ulti, so Piglet just walks away.
And that turret is almost dead. Probably one more wave and they will be able to knock it down unless Sivir and Braum can actually step forward and clear it out, which they're trying to now do since Matt has shown elsewhere on the map. But really, time is working in the favor of TL down there in the bot lane.
Piglet running away from Zazel and Deftly together now. Piglet jumps right on top of himself. Little bit strange looking there. Not sure if that was on purpose
GBM.
or not.
Barely surviving. The ultimate is actually still available for Mickey, and they're all landing on the bot side with Dardoch.
Zazel taken low. Dardoch now going to be jumped on. Definitely fires off the flag and drag. Wild Growth used onto Dardoch just in case the Cataclysm would have come out too.
Lolo also has TP advantage, so it's very hard to see a way that TL does not get this turret here. Even if eUnited commits to a play to try to go for a fight, Lolo's going to TP down.
Polymorph onto Dandy. He loses half his HP for free. Dardoch is still plenty healthy. There's no way GBM can rotate down to this because he's still pretty much dead from the mid lane fight. Mickey's working his way into the mix.
They're going to look for a dive. Mickey's actually wrapping around behind them. They could try to finish off his turret.
Oh! Zazel just takes the big Tristana ultimate right there, ends up getting himself killed as now Matt flashing away from the Cataclysm. Mickey comes in from behind, and eUnited is in some real trouble. Dardoch dropped the turret aggro with the ulti, still might go down, but not today. Team Liquid finds a double kill. They find first turret, and I just have an inkling they are going to find the Infernal Drake as well.
Yeah, they're so far ahead now off that play. Great drop of the aggro from Dardoch on the turret. They're able to pull off the dive, get everything from that. Mickey comes up with 2 more kills off that play as well. They get first turret. They're not really losing much of anything in the mid lane as well. Just a couple minions because the push is so slow for Vladimir. And here it is one more time. United desperately trying to hold on, but TL hold all the cards here. The fact that they have the TP, the fact that they get the early kill. Mickey is already behind them, and now there's no way out for eUnited. It's a very well-executed dive, though. Dardoch tanking the turret as long as he possibly can, and then simply resets the aggro. It goes on to Mickey. They all back out, and definitely one auto short of getting the kill.
Very well played from Liquid. Their reward is being almost 3,000 gold ahead. The Infernal Drake has not been taken yet, still up. That is definitely our next point of contention here as eUnited clears out some wards. Dardoch goes over the wall, and Dandy is the target. EQ out over the wall of the red buff, keeps himself safe, but now more wards being dropped by Team Liquid. Keeping an eye over this Dragon Pit wall, making sure eUnited can't contest this whatsoever as Mickey's pressure on mid lane continues to leave GBM posted up under the turret.
Exactly, he's always shoved in. He's not able to actually move around the map and help to make plays, help to contest these picks. And for eUnited, it's really time to see how good of a team are you? They weren't able to keep up in the macro play, even with all the early kills going their way last game. Now they have lost their lanes. Now there is an Infernal looking like it may be going over to TL. Can they actually play from this sort of position?
Mickey finding the pool from GBM, getting that away. And then some more damage on the back end of it as well. Red buff on this Cassiopeia also means more regeneration. And The auto attacks have that nasty true damage burn if he lands them. Now Dardoch gonna be hit by the EQ combo from Dandy, gets some damage of his own. Wild Growth gonna be keeping him alive. TP's coming in from both top laners. We could see one hell of a fight. Azale Lorlo comes in first, Licorice right afterwards. Steadfast Presence not really going to be doing a lot on that one. Body Slam still connects anyway.
And Piglet right back to bot lane. He's going to be shoving this in. United need to force something here or they're going to be losing pressure on the bot side. We know that last game the same sort of situation presented itself around that Baron, but they're not able to actually start up a fight, so Piglet simply able to shove in the wave and get back over to his team and still maintaining the priority on that Infernal. TL has the vision around there. They have the inside track. But the response from eUnited is going to be trying to pressure this mid lane turret.
Licorice is caught out, though. Piglet finding some damage onto him through the Buster Shot as well as the auto attack. Now trying to kite backwards. Big cast into the middle of multiple people. Licorice nearly taken down, and Piglet's going to be finding the first kill in this fight. Zazel drops his number 2. GBM looking to take him down, but cannot do anything. Lorlo still dealing with Dandy. GBM grabbing the kill onto Piglet finally, but he will likely fall to Dardoch and Matt's combined might. It's a 3-for-1 Azale, and Team Liquid finds yet another victory.
Yeah, they find a big victory there. They're going to be able to shove in the mid lane and probably look to take this Infernal off the back of that. So that is a huge fight for TL to win. They're going to get so much from this. Easily able to secure the dragon afterwards with the blue buff Cassio, and Dardoch still alive. And despite the fact that GBM pulled off a good all-in on Piglet, did knock him down, they were losing too much elsewhere in the fight.
And I want to bring up what you mentioned earlier about the ability of the Cassiopeia, as well as Tristana to shred the tanks. That Infernal is going to do a lot of work for both of these carries.
It really is. And here is the fight one more time. Licorice was trying to set up some sort of a flank there, but he actually does get interrupted on his ultimate. That kind of means no disengage is possible, and he starts the fight off almost dead. So it's already a full retreat here for eUnited. GBM sees an opportunity, flash in on Piglet. Really nice all-in the midst of that fight to actually take down Piglet. But the rest of the fight was already lost. Definitely had been pushed completely out. Licorice was already down. Dandy was extremely low. Zazel was already dead. So the fight was essentially lost before it even started because of the engage and because of the positioning.
And now Liquid finds themselves 3,500 gold ahead, seriously pushing the issue of this game. A composition that has 2 big frontliners, 2 big carries, and somebody who can make either one of those categories even stronger.
The biggest concern for me is the fact that Piglet is almost 2,000 gold ahead of Sivir right now. Like, that is insane. With the turret gold going his way, with the kills going his way, he is so far ahead of Deathly this game. And even with all the gold that Deathly had last game, he was not really able to take over in the team fights when it counted. And we know that Piglet is a very gifted mechanical AD carry. He has the ability to take over a game like this. And with this sort of lead and a Lulu in his back pocket, you really are expecting him to make this a quick one.
Not only is his support great appeal, the enemy support, remember about Braum, he's disengaged. He's not about the engage. You're not just going to run up to somebody, flash in their face, and Glacial Fissure most of the time.
Yeah, unless you can find that perfect setup, unless you can really coordinate it well, you really are more about the peeling and looking for an all-in here on Lorlo. GBM
trying to make this outplay. The pool will keep him alive. One more transfusion will do it. Lorlo drops in the 1v1.
Great job by GBM. That's one way to get back into the game. Make plays around the map. He gets a turret dive on Lorlo, who has no magic resist in his build whatsoever. So that is why he made that look so easy. He's going to be able to pressure the turret as a result also.
No
eUnited is going to need more of that.
No health either on the build of Lorlo means that all the damage coming in from GBM, he might as well be hitting a carry when he hits Lorlo. Now mid lane, eUnited trying to make more moves. Dardoch coming in from behind, stopping that rather quickly. Zazel trying to disengage, the damage out onto Deathly Piglet there. Vicky is unstoppable. Zazel, target number 2. Cataclysm comes down onto 3, but it's a 4 versus 2, and they want no more of this. The red turret falls bottom side. It's only a tier 1. Team Liquid continuing to push onto the tier 1 in mid for themselves.
And there's no wave clear in the mid lane here for eUnited. It's a couple of tanks who aren't going to be able to stop this whatsoever. So despite the fact that GBM knocked down the turret in the bot lane, they'll probably lose this mid one. But
oh! Piglet with a parting gift for Zazel sends him away yet again. 2 out of 3 of Zazel's deaths have been Buster Shots.
And they can even continue to push or look for more. They may just run up to the Rift Herald, try to grab that. The wave clear is very low in this composition for eUnited. If you don't have Sivir in position to actually shred down these waves, there's not a lot they can do. Vladimir does not have good wave clear, does not have safe wave clear, and neither do any of the tanks on this team.
Nope, definitely a tall order to deal with all those minions. Rift Herald dropping now from Team Liquid. No contest here from eUnited. And now that they've got down the Tier 1 turret in mid lane, so often, Azael, you see Rift Herald used to take down the Tier 1 mid lane turret because it's so well defended. But there's options now for Team Liquid. You've got all 3 Tier 2s you can hit. If you can just get there before eUnited responds, it'll be a fast take.
You also have a super fed Cassio and Tristana who shred Baron, and you can actually look for the early Baron play where you drop a Rift Herald on the bot side, and then you immediately head over to the Baron, so you can actually drop Rift Herald in your base on bot side, then go to pressure Baron. We'll see if they look for that, or if they just want to take the more guaranteed play. But here is Piglet again looking for Zeyzal. Zeyzal steps forward, Buster Shot just deletes him. That is not a tanky Braum, at least not yet.
Piglet made sure to get the auto attack in there too to block the shield disruption from Unbreakable, excuse me, while at the same time still dealing with him with the ultimate. 9-3 for Team Liquid. 4,500 gold lead. eUnited pushing up here onto the Tier 1 mid lane. Dardoch wants to stop it. He's got Mickey and Matt next to him. A lot of damage on his right side though. Matt trying to keep him alive. Wild Growth comes out. I don't think it's going to be enough. And GBM gets himself the kill, but Lorlo coming in for the counterattack. The TV is there, but Mickey's got the damage. He's dominating GBM, trying to stay alive. Twin Fangs have an awful sting to them as Deftly looks to turn this one back around. Piglet grabbing the kill onto the enemy mid laner. Deftly now the target has to flash away. Piglet still in hot pursuit, but Team Liquid takes what started off bad and turns it good.
Yeah, and they're going to be pushing for this Tier 2 mid lane turret. It was a really nice ultimate from Licorice, knocking carries out of the fight to try to give them a fighting chance there, but still, TL are way too far ahead. Mickey and Piglet are massive in this game, and they are really pushing on all sides. The top lane is also already prepped. They still have the Rift Herald available. Baron's going to be spawning soon, and a lot of options here for TL.
Azael, you mentioned the difference between Deftly and Piglet this game. Piglet's got Eye Edge, Static Shiv, Berserker Greaves. Essence Reaver Berserker Greaves is done for Deftly, but he doesn't even have remotely that second item done yet.
Yeah, he's just so far behind, and that's why eUnited is trying to make a play away from Piglet, who is kind of split pushing and trying to really amass a massive amount of gold. And GBM, to his credit, is making plays, is going aggressively, trying to make things happen for his team. The problem is, everything is expended to then take down Dardoch, and GBM is the only strong member on the team. So as Piglet arrives, Licorice, great ultimate on Piglet, giving them a chance to re-enter the fight and try to make something happen. But with GBM already using all his cooldowns and Deftly at a relatively weak point, he doesn't have the damage to shred through these frontliners. He doesn't have the damage to get these kills, so the fight is already done.
Which is exactly the difficulty we talked about with these types of compositions. The Vladimir now having to run away from the Tristana in a 1v1 because Piglet is so fed.
And it's also why you saw such a priority on armor over magic resist for both of the tanks. That's why they're itemizing towards it, because they know, all right, great, GBM uses everything on me and he kills me. Well, Piglet and Mickey are dead, we automatically win.
Yep.
There's no world in which GBM can use everything he has to kill a tank, and eUnited can still win the fight with Sivir behind.
Itemization choices like that, just one of the subtleties of being able to properly play your role, right? Being able to say, it's all right if I die, because that means Cassiopeia and Piglet on that Tristana can both do all the work that they need to do. These two are so strong, it doesn't matter that the rest of their team doesn't do any damage. They don't need to.
And the Knight's Vow, very smart purchase here from Dardoch, although he hasn't actually used it. So he wants to link up with someone here. We'll see what his choice is going to be. I definitely think either Cassio or Piglet on the Tristana are really good options. Oh my god.
Oh no, definitely pops the spell shield. Tries to stay alive right now. Pull out from GBM too. Rift Herald gets channeled because they know the enemy AD carry and mid laner are low, so they're going to create a distraction, and over to Baron, just like you called it, Azael. It's not all the way in bottom lane, but it's enough of a time waster.
Yeah, not an ideal Rift Herald. Maybe drop it somewhere else, but either way, they're already on the Baron.
Still doing its job.
Indy's going to have to look for a steal here. That's their only hope.
They knock Mickey out of the fight. That could be what they need.
And
they go. Piglet, of all people, secures it. Dandy now in some trouble. Going to be shot to pieces as he kills Matt in the process. Piglet grabbing the killing spree onto him. Dardoch taken low, still going to be walking away. A double, a triple for Piglet, and he is running amok this game. Gets one auto attack onto Licorice to slow him down a little bit. Still trying to chase this, but now they've got time to fire onto the mid lane.
And they already had all 3 minion waves prepped. This is the superior macro play of TL against the eUnited. Look at top, look at mid, look at bot. All 3 lanes pushing. They're going to be able to buff them all up with the Baron buff and get enormously ahead.
Mickey just holding two members here in the mid lane, Licorice and Deathly both. Petrifying Gaze not finding the stun onto Licorice there, so he will live to see another day, but Mickey continues to apply the pressure as the bottom lane tier 2 falls. Liquid's turret advantage goes up to 6-1, and they've got 12,000 gold as a lead at 23 minutes.
I mean, Piglet just based with 3,200 gold, and he was already hilariously ahead.
It's going to be even more hilarious now, Dale.
I mean, it's so hard for them to do anything about this. The Baron burn that we already talked about with Cassio and Triss, very, very powerful. Licorice's credit had some really good ultimates. Knocking Mickey out of the fight gives them some hope they can get something done, but the fact is, Sivir's not even there. They don't have any frontline threat, so Piglet and Mickey untouched, no one can get to them, and that means there's no chance to ever win the fight.
One thing I want to point out in that fight, Dardoch smited early, Dandy didn't smite.
Yep.
Piglet was the one who ultimately secured it. Dardoch's smite left Baron at just a sliver of health. But very unfortunate for eUnited to not find that steal. That was kind of what they were going for. That was the only thing they could hope for, really, to get a chance to come back into this game. But now they're staring down the barrel of 7-1 on both enemy carries. There's just, it's too much of a gold avalanche to come back from.
I mean, Piglet has 13,000 gold compared to the 7.7k of death.
Yep.
That really says it all. There's just almost nothing that they can do when you're this far behind a long-range AD carry. Piglet already has his Rage Pop for the extra life steal. He's on 3.5 items compared to 1.5.
This is just not a situation you come back from. Tier 3 turret under pressure. They take it down. Piglet grabbing the credit on that one. Sivir ulti used. Team Liquid not afraid at all. They know if anybody walks up, the Piglet damage is just going to be too extreme. Dandy can't deal with this at all either, and he's the tank.
He just lost about half his health from an
That's
auto,
ridiculous.
and he is their tank, so it's really looking rough for them.
All right, Dardoch tank. Team Liquid just does not care at all. They have ran out of concern to give. Barrel thrown down, Miasma zoning them away. So many tools on this team. Licorice now trying to slam Lomo back into these guys, but the damage out onto GBM and the rest of the team going to be extreme as Dandy goes in for Piglet, but he can't do anything. Special Tristana delivery comes in. It's a 4-for-1, and Team Liquid finds their fight that'll find them the game and take them up to 2-0. The ace credit goes over to Piglet, and all that's left to do is push the wave into the Nexus.
Hey, they got Matt, so you're going to call Worth on that one. Lose the Nexus.
We got the Lulu. Your Lulu's KDA is messed up now, man. He's 1-2.
Well, dominating game number 2 here from Team Liquid, making it look easy against eUnited, and they are one game away from winning the series.
Team Liquid, a hell of a show in game number 2. Game 1 looked rough at the start. eUnited looked strong. Liquid looked a little bit shaky. Game number 2, it's like they're saying, all right, game number 1 was our warm-up. Here we are. Let's make this fast.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, when you draft like this, a losing 2v2, you have to make plays on that side of the map, or you will just slowly lose the game.
Yep.
TL played very well around it. They had TP advantage on top. They made sure their jungler was there to stop any play that could come out from Dandy, and I think TL just really preempted any move that eUnited wanted to do, and it made it look so easy against them in game number 2.
Yeah, TL played it really clean. They played around Piglet. They played around Mickey. And those two, I mean, one death on each of them by the end of the game. Just very well played by both.
You got to give some credit over to GBM, though, for eUnited. He's really a guy who is trying to make plays. He was involved in all 6 of the kills. He got some solo kills. He was making things happen, but when you don't have the damage coming out of your Sivir against a composition like this, there's not really much chance to win. So I think it is time to go back to the drawing board for eUnited, maybe draft a little bit more of a well-rounded composition. I don't think that you can just play into Piglet on Tristana and concede lane every time.
It doesn't seem like a viable option after that, at least. But for now, we're going to check in with the analysts to see what they think of that TL win.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And Team Liquid just looking very dominant in this one. One big fight in the bottom lane turned everything on its head.
Showing that class that we were talking about, you know, the big difference here. This time around, it was the carries that got super fed for Team Liquid. It did happen a lot around the bottom lane and around Piglet and Matt. So I think, you know, Piglet especially deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of what you would expect from a seasoned LCS team versus an NACS team, and it's not what we saw in Game 1. Right. So Game 2 was just much more in control. We were wondering how eUnited was going to respond to the Baron throw and how they were going to be able to come back from that in game 2, and they didn't respond well. It's all the momentum the Team Liquid had in the last 5 minutes of game 1 they had for the entire game 2.
Yeah, and eUnited's going to have to figure something out here. They went back with the Vladimir, Sivir kind of team composition, and both those lanes got smashed on the opposite side.
Yeah, very similar team composition, right? You can switch out the top laner that was Shen in the first game, but the Jarvan, the Vladimir, and the Sivir is what got them a lead in game 1. So I can understand why they would want to run it back. But now that they ran it back and it was wildly unsuccessful, they have to do something completely different for game 1.
Yeah, they ran it back into Cassiopeia plus Tristana, which we just saw on the other stream, how it can outscale in the late game. And then when they get this fed early, that's what the game looks like. When Cassiopeia and Tristana are an item and a half above their counterparts. Like, Piglet had a full another completed Zeal item and a BF sword advantage. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and one of the ways they were able to do that was on this replay here where they got the bot lane dive 3 for 0, and unfortunately there wasn't an answer for eUnited.
Yeah, and I mean, Piglet just straight up kills Braum before the dive even generates. So Mickey ends up picking up some kills on the backside, but you have to credit the Team Liquid bottom lane for just kind of smashing this lineup, and then the Cassiopeia just gets to walk in and free cast on people who aren't returning any damage. So, I mean, a pretty well done dive and a pretty poor defense of the dive as well by eUnited. But yeah, that was a huge catalyst for getting their lead.
So, Cobes, what do they got to do? What do they got to do to get back in it? They're down 2-0. Obviously, if they lose here, they're not completely out. They're not eliminated. But what's the go-to here for eUnited?
I think actually just drafting more scaling and trying to do the outscale. I mean, you can try and stay proactive and go super early game, but that requires you to not make mistakes later in the game. And I just feel like they might have a bigger chance if they just draft for scaling and try and hold out and hope for, those mid-game mistakes from Team Liquid.
All right, well, you heard it here first from Kobe. We're going to go ahead and take a step away, but when we come back, we'll have more of Team Liquid versus eUnited. You're watching the final promotion tournament.